Example 14, here's what it says. Find the 95% confidence interval for the variance and the standard deviation. Okay, so we're looking for both of them. We're just going to find the variance first, then take the square root, we'll have the standard deviation. Of the nicotine content of cigarettes manufactured, if a sample of 20 cigarettes has a standard deviation of 1.6 milligrams. So we need to know the sample size. N is equal to 20, which also tells us that the degrees of freedom is 19. You take one away, we're going to need degrees of freedom, 19 for our chart. We also need to know the standard deviation, which they gave us. The standard deviation is 1.6 milligrams. Now before we do anything else, we want to find chi-squared right and chi-squared left, because we need those in the formula up top, the ones that are highlighted. Okay, so remember, we'll do that over here. Chi-squared right, oops, I filled on spot. Okay, that's going to be 1 minus the percent, that's 1 minus 0.95 divided by 2. Okay, so you take a calculator, you do that, and you get 0.025. Now I'm going to do the chi-squared left. Chi-squared left is 1 minus chi-squared right, which gives us the 0.975. Now remember, we haven't looked these up on the chart yet, so we don't use those two numbers. We have to look them up on the chart first. Okay, so we're going to go back to the chart. We're going to look at degrees of freedom, 19. Let me get a different color. We're going to go degrees of freedom 19, and we are going to look up 0.025 first. So let's go back. Here's 19 degrees of freedom. We want to look up the 0.025 first. 0.025 would be this column. So I end up with 32.852. So my chi-squared right is 32.852. So let me write that one down and we'll go back. Now let's go back and let's look up the 0.975. We still have the same degrees of freedom. We're going to look up 0.975 here, which is 8.907. So let's go back. And that number would be 8.907. Now once we have those, we're ready to fill in the formula. So look at the formula up top. We're going to take the formula. It says n minus 1. So in parentheses, I'm going to have 20 minus 1 times the variance. Now listen, you guys, this is really important. This says the variance, S squared. If they give you the standard deviation, you have to square it. If they give you the variance, you don't. So let's look at this problem and see what they gave us. They gave us the standard deviation, so I have to square it. So right here, I'm going to put 1.6 squared. Okay? Now remember, we're on the left side, but underneath that, we put chi-squared right. So underneath that, I'm going to put 32.852 is less than, I put the standard deviation symbol in the middle. On the other side, I'm going to have the same exact thing on top. The only difference is the bottom. So on top, I'm going to have 20 minus 1. And I'm just going to go ahead and make that 19 because I'm running out of room. So I'll have 19 times 1.6 squared. And on the bottom of that one, I'm going to put 8.907. Now, when you plug that in a calculator, okay, you're going to get 1.5 for the left is less than, the variance is less than 5.5. That's half our answer. Now, we also want standard deviation. To get standard deviation, we're just going to take the square root of that. The square root of 1.5 is 1.2 is less than, you put the standard deviation symbol, sigma, and then you take the square root of 5.5 and you get 2.3. This particular problem asked for both variance and standard deviation. So you would need both of those answers. On the test, you'll only be asked for one at a time.